Good morning, all of you. Now, today we are going to start with a new topic under vocabulary section in English grammar, and we'll start with onomatopoeia. Now, onomatopoeia, as with this we have some more, they are called as figures of speech. Now, what are figures of speech? Figures of speech are basically used to make the language more artistic, more dramatic, and these words have a symbolic meaning also in addition to its literal meaning. Alright, now do you know the difference between a literal meaning of the word and a symbolic meaning? Yes, class 8, any idea? Okay, like if page number is 169. Now, if I say, I want to say that a particular lady is very old, alright. So, I can say that she is 90 years old or she is very old. But if I want to make the language really dramatic and interesting and artistic, so what I can say, she is as old as the hills. Alright, so now what does that mean? Now here, as old as the hill, now this is a figure of speech, and it has two meanings. It has a literal meaning also, means the real meaning of the word, and it has also a symbolic meaning. Now literal meaning would be, the real meaning of the word would be that something as old as the hill. But what does it mean? That she is very old. What we want to imply by using this phrase as old as the hills is that we want simply to say that that person is very old. So that is what it means to have a symbolic meaning in addition to a literal meaning. So such words are called as figures of speech. Now the first one that we have here is onomatopoeia. Now in English language, the term onomatopoeia, it means the imitation of a sound. Like some things they have a very particular sound, and we identify the things with the sounds also. Okay, and in this particular chapter, we are going to study those sounds, like the sound a cow makes. Like we know, okay, the cow makes the sound moo. Alright, so that is what we mean here. And like when we want to refer to the sound of a car's horn, so what we say, beep beep. Then something has fallen down and broken, so or crash, so we use the word crash also. Bang, someone is drinking some liquid with a sound, so we say that slurped and all. So these words which make sounds like tinkle, clang, alright. So all these are called as onomatopoeic words. And now sometimes things, they are named from the sounds that they make. And like in English, for example, there's a universal fastener which is named for the sound it makes. We called it as the zip or the zipper, and it is because of the sound that the zip or the zipper makes. That is why it got its name as the zip, because when you zip it up, that sound that it makes, so that is from where it got its name. And even many birds, they are named after the sounds that they make. And then in Tamil and Malayalam, the word for crow is kaka. Why? Because that is the sound which is made by the crow, and that is why they use the word kaka when they want to refer to a crow. Okay. Now the use of onomatopoeia in is specially used in poetry, and something could be written in very plain words also, but the figure of speech, it is used to enhance the appeal, the artistic quality of the writing. And the words used hence are descriptive, and they imagine the reader, alright, to just create that event in the mind of the reader, or to recreate or imagine the events, the story and the scenes by creating a visual impact. Otherwise it will just be you simply read it and that's it. But when these figures of speech, the sounds and all, they are incorporated, so it gives it a real, a visual feel to what we are reading. So there's this poem, and you have to read this poem and identify the onomatopoeic words here in this particular poem. It is not difficult, it is very very easy. So I would like someone to read the poem first. Navya, why don't you read the poem?
Okay, ma'am. Slam, slam go the car doors, jangle, jangle go the house keys, jiggle, jiggle go the keys in the door, squeak goes the front door, thump, thump, that is me running down the stairs. Guess what? Mom and dad are home.
Alright, so this is a short poem here, and you have to identify the onomatopoeic words. Yes, come on, you tell me. It is very easy. Tell me the onomatopoeic words in the poem.
Slam,
Yes.
slam,
Slam,
slam, slam,
then
jiggle, 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 jiggle,
then
jiggle, jiggle,
jiggle, jiggle,
squeak, squeak,
squeak. All right. Then
thump, thump,
thump, thump. Right. Okay. So these
thump,
are the
thump.
yes, beta. So the words, onomatopoeic words that we have in this poem are slam, slam, jangle, jangle, jiggle, jiggle, squeak, and thump, thump. Okay. Now, the second exercise that we have here is that here's a short list of onomatopoeic words. Choose some words from the list and use them to write your own poem. You can use a different version of the words in the list. For example, if you choose gurgle, you might use one of these instead. You can use gurgles, gurgled, gurgling. So, some words are given here. You can pick up few of the words and you can create your own poem out of this. So, let's say 6 to 8 line poems. Will you be able to do it? Some onomatopoeic words are given here. You use some of the words which are given here. You can change, use the different versions of the words that are given here and try to create a poem just like the poem given here, and you can create your own poem 6 to 8 lines. Now that would be, so you can make a poem of 6 to 8 lines. Alright, let's move on. We move on to personification. Now that is another figure of speech, and personification is a figure of speech in which inanimate things like ideas, things, animals, alright, they are given, so things not human are given human qualities or human attributes. So that is why the word personification means you personify a thing which is not a person. You personify a thing which is not human. So you give human qualities or human attributes to things which are not humans. Now those things can be animals, they can be ideas, they can be any other thing. So you can give these human qualities to inanimate things, and that is what is personification. And in personification, they are portrayed in such a way that we feel that the things that we talk about, or the ideas that we talk about, or the animals that we talk about, they have the ability to act like human beings or feel like human beings. For example, when we say the sky weeps, alright, so we are giving the sky the ability to weep or cry, which is a human quality, and it is not the quality of a sky. Sky obviously is not human, so it cannot weep. But when we are saying the sky weeps, so we are giving a human attribute or a human quality to the sky. And so that is why we can say that in this particular sentence, the sky has been personified. The sky has been given an attribute of a person. Okay, so the sky weeps. Now this has two meanings. It has a literal meaning and it has a symbolic meaning. What is the literal meaning? Okay, the sky weeps means weeping is crying, so the sky is crying. But we know the sky doesn't cry. So what is the symbolic meaning? What are we actually trying to say when we say the sky weeps? Yes, anyone here in the class? What do you think we are trying to say when we say the sky weeps?
Ma'am, it is raining.
Yes,
Ma'am,
it is
it's
raining.
raining.
Yes, very good. So what it basically means is that it is raining. Okay, let's read the sentences which are given in the beginning of the chapter. Let's see how personification is used. The leaves waved in the wind. So obviously leaves don't wave, humans wave. The ocean heaved a sigh. We heave a sigh. The sun smiled at us. The stove heated up like it was angry. Alright, just like we become really mad when we are angry, so we are using the stone. The stove heated up like it was angry. The stars danced playfully in the moonlit sky. So, opportunity was knocking at a door. Now we are using things and inanimate things, things which are not human, and giving them human attributes or human qualities. Okay, read these. Let's come to exercise A. Read these lines extracted from two poems that use personification. Identify the words, phrases, lines that display personification. So what you have to do, you simply have to tell which lines here show personification. What is the poem? Have you got a brook in your little heart where bashful flowers blow and blushing birds go down to drink and shadows tremble so? Yes. Tell me personification words, phrases here. Come on. First
Brook
one I'll
in
let
your
you.
little heart.
Haan beta?
Brook in your little heart.
Not little heart. Little heart means small heart. So it is okay. Little is not an attribute of humans only. Yes. See the second line. Search the second line.
Bashful flowers blow.
Yes, bashful flowers. Now we use these bashful for people who are a little shy. So bashful flowers. So that is a personification here. Next line.
Blushing birds.
Very good. Blushing birds. Yes. Last line here.
Shadow tremble.
Yes, shadows
Tremble.
tremble. Shadows don't tremble. We tremble. So, shadows tremble. Okay. Alright, let's see what it says about personifications. That it is not only a decorative device. Means, like I told you, figures of speech, they are used to make the language more dramatic, more artistic, and it gives, not only makes it just a dramatic and more artistry and more flowing, but it also gives a deeper meaning to the literary text, and it also adds vividness, means visual imagery to expressions, and as we look at the world with a human perspective, that we give human qualities to the things around us, so we look at the world from a human perspective under personification. And writers and poets, they rely on personification to bring inanimate things, means things not human, to life. They bring it to life, and so that the nature and actions of the things around us, they could be understood in a better way. Why we do it, why they use personifications, because it is easier for us to relate to something which is human, we being human. So for us it is easier to relate to things which are human, or to understand things which have human qualities or human traits. And so by using it, we get a new perspective, a new way of looking at things. And in addition to that, use of figures of speech, use of personification, it is very creative, and it adds so much more to a simple literary text. Okay, so that would be all for today. Have you understood what we have done today? Yes, class 8. Have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.